So chapter 9 is about the Scala REPL. It's an introduction to the Scala REPL. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start that with the Scala CLI command line tool. And I show how to install that in a previous lesson. So I'm not going to get into that in great detail here. But basically, all you have to do is go to the Scala CLI website, which I show here, and then go to the installation link. And then this section here shows what you need to do to install the REPL in all these different environments. So assuming that you have the REPL installed, I'll go to the command line here, and all you have to do is type Scala CLI space REPL, and that will start the REPL. And I just ran this one time just a little while ago. But what happens when you first start the REPL with Scala CLI is it will go out and check for any new versions. So I already have Scala 3.11 here, and I have the latest version of Java. So the REPL in this case did not need to download anything new, but if it did, it would do that right there. So once you have the REPL installed in this first section, then what I do is I show how to start using the REPL. And as I mentioned in the book, the REPL is just it's like a playground. It's a place where we experiment with Scala code when we're not sure how something works, or maybe you're working with a new library or something like that. You can experiment with it here in the REPL. And so what I show in the book is just how to create a variable. So I create a val x equals 1. And what that does, it creates a variable named x, and it has the value 1. And so the Scala REPL is smart enough to figure out, oh, okay, you typed in 1 here, and I know that that's an integer, or which is also an int data type in Scala. And I don't show these other things in the book, but if you were to type in something else like val name equal Alvin, then Scala sees that I use double quotes here. So it's like, oh, okay, that's a string. And if I said val b equals true, then that one would be a Boolean, and val, how about C equals 1.111? That's a double. So again, in each of these instances, Scala is looking at the type that I type over here, and it is implicitly figuring out, oh, true is a Boolean, and this one here is a double, and just like that with all the other examples. So getting back to what I show in the book, I do val x equals 1, then I do val y equals 2, and then I do, what do I do? Oh, okay, I do an x plus y. And the reason for this is to show that when in these first couple of cases, or in all these examples so far, I created my own variable names using the val keyword. And in this case, I didn't use a variable name. I just typed this expression. And what happens here is the Scala REPL says, oh, okay, that's an expression. I will create a variable name for you. So it creates this one called res0, which stands for result 0. And then you can use that just like any other variable name. So like I can use my own variable name, which was x. I can do a print line of x, and that'll be 1. But I can also do a print line of res0, which is just, again, it's just a variable name. So I can just do that. Or I could say res0 times 3, something like that. So again, the key here is just that res0 is just a variable name that the REPL creates for you whenever you type an expression like this one here, or this one here. And in this case, because I did that, it created another variable for me called res1. So the next thing I show in the lesson 9 is tab completion. So for tab completion, what happens here is you just type in something like, I can type in the number 1 and then a dot and a tab. And when you do that, so what's happening here is Scala is both a functional programming language and it's also an object-oriented programming language. So the number 1 is an object of the type int. So when I do the 1 dot and then press the tab, it shows me all these methods here that are available on an int data type. So if I type in now, if you were to keep typing like the letter I, it would show you all the methods that begin with the letter I and then is and so on. So it narrows down the methods that it shows. As I can do like -1 dot tab, and here I can say, give me the absolute value of that. And, of course, that's 1. So that's how a tab completion works. Another thing I can do here would be I typed in name earlier as that variable that had my name in it. So now I can do name dot. And name is a string, which is, of course, a different data type than an int. It's an object of type string. And so the Scala REPL is like, oh, there's 254 methods I can show you about a string. Are you sure you want to see them all? And I'll say, okay, yes, go ahead and let's do that. And so these are all the different methods that are available on a string. So I'll just type in something simple like length, always a simple one to work with. And so it shows that the length of my name is 5 characters long. So the next thing I show in the book is how to use the reset command in the REPL and what it does. So we will switch back over there. So here I've started a new REPL session, and I only have created the variables X and name. And so now, like if I do a print line X, it will work. But now if I do reset, what it does is it resets the REPL to its initial state. So now if I were to try to do print line X again, I'm generating an intentional error here. So it says, basically in this error message, it says X is not found. And that's because the reset command just wiped out all the variables that I had created. And so you start with a clean slate. And another nice thing about this is this particular example is it shows error messages. And I suspect that Scala developers create hundreds or thousands of error messages every day in the REPL. And that's what we use it for. It's this experimental playground. So whenever you get an error, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. I also mentioned in the book that you stop a REPL session by using the Control D keystroke. And what all that does is take you back to your operating system command line, just like that. And then one of the last things I show in this lesson is that I encourage you to experiment in the REPL. So you can just take some of these expressions here like this, copy those there, come back to the REPL and paste them in, and see how all those work. So you can do those, and then other ones like equality types of checks like that, and so on. So I just encourage you to experiment in the REPL. And finally, the last thing I do in the exercise is I recommend that you go over to my testing website. So I do have a lesson for the REPL. So this up here, you can see the URL for the exercises. And of course, that's also in the book. So all you have to do is click on the REPL link there, expand that a little bit. And then these are the exercises. So is this code correct? Hopefully, yes. Check my answer. Great. Then we go on to the next exercise, and you can do that one and do that one and so on and so forth. So all these exercises are available for you online. And I have exercises for almost every lesson in the book available to you online. Again, this is lesson number 9 from my book, Learn Scala 3 the Fast Way. And this lesson was about how to use the Scala REPL, and in particular, how to use it with Scala CLI. My name is Alvin Alexander, and I hope you enjoyed this.